Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanao Bhunaktu Saha Viryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Vakratunda Mahakaya Suryakoti Samaprabha Nirvignam Kuru Me Deva Sarvakaryeshu Sarvada. Saraswati Namastubhyam Varade Kamarupini Vidyarambham Karishyami Siddhir Bhavatu Me Sada. Samasta Jana Kalyane Niratam Karunamaya Namami Chinmayam Devam Satgurum Brahma Vidvaram Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langhayate Girim Yatkripatamaham Vande Paramananda Madhavam Paramananda Madhavam. All right. So we'll go ahead and read the verses that we covered last time. We will read verses 13 to 15. Sarva karmani manasa sanyasyaste sukham vashi navadware pure dehi daiva kurvanna karayan nakartritvam nakarmani lokasya srijati prabhuhu nakarma phala samyogam Swabhavastu pravartate nadatte kasyachit papam na chaiva sukritam vibhuhu ajnanenavritam jnanam tena muhyanti jantavaha. Okay, so here we are in chapter 5 and we are discussing this person who is a sarva karma sannyasi, which means that this person has renounced activities and is focusing their lives on shravanam, mananam, and nididhyasana, right? So this person has taken the path of karma sannyasa, but the renunciation is not just a physical renunciation of action, and dedicating it to shravanam, mananam, and nididhyasanam. There's also the renunciation in knowledge or through knowledge. So both this has to be there for a sarva karma sannyasi. Sannyasi means the one who has renounced. Karma, actions. Sarva, all actions. So a sarva karma sannyasi is one who has renounced physical actions and also actions through knowledge. So if somebody just said, I don't want to do anything anymore, I'm not going to physically do anything, I'm just going to sit here, that's not a sannyasi in its true sense. And if somebody just said, I'm just going to renounce my sense of doership, renouncing through knowledge means I'm going to renounce the sense of my doership and experiencership and still do whatever I'm going to do in the world. That's also not sarva karma sannyasi. So one in whom actions are renounced, as well as that they have renounced that doership and experiencership. Sometimes we say enjoyership. And what is the attitude of such a being? The attitude of such a being is that they sit happily. They happily are engaging in the world as they are required to. They're doing things in the world as they required to, but happily because they believe or they realize that they are the Atman. They are that pure self that sits in this body with 9 gates. Navadware pure dehi. And I explained last time that those in ignorance, when we are in ignorance, we feel like I'm sitting on a bench, I'm sitting on a chair, I'm sitting on a couch. And we were so concerned about where we sit It's such a big, big deal. But to this person who has realized the truth, they're just thinking, I am that self which sits in the body of 9 gates. And in sitting in this body of 9 gates, I sit happily as the Atman, as the very self, Dehi, as the very self, not doing anything, not causing to do anything. Naiva kurban nakaryan. So the example we gave last week is just like electricity. Electricity is not doing anything, but in its presence, everything starts to function. So this way, the one who sees the truth, who realizes the self, sits very happily. And we saw in verse number 14, it doesn't create any doership. The self doesn't create any doership or experiencership or any union with the actions, results of actions. All of this just happens because of swabhava, right? Vastutaha na pravartate means in reality, the self is not doing anything. It happens because of maya. So here we gave the example of the movie and the screen. The screen is not producing the movie. The screen is not directing the movie. The screen is ever untouched by the movie. There may be a hero, there may be a villain in the movie, many people doing so many things in the movie, pursuing so many different paths and getting the results of their actions. All of this happens in the movie, but the screen is ever untouched, right? The movie is just playing because that's its nature. So the mind is thinking. The intellect is thinking. The speech is speaking. The ear is hearing. All of these things are going on because it's their swabhava. That's what they do. The dharma of the eye is to see. The dharma of the ear is to hear. The dharma of the tongue is to taste. The dharma of the mind, intellect equipment, is to think, to feel. The dharma of the ahankara, even the ego has a dharma of saying that I am doing this. But that Atman doesn't own anything up. Everything just does whatever it does in its own field. Everything functions in its field naturally. The Atman is the self which is ever untouched, which illumines everything, and which transcends everything. And so therefore, there is, he again reiterates this point that there is no doership in Atman. But why do we think that? So in verse number 15, he says it's because of this ignorance. Because of this ignorance, even if the self does not gain any merit or demerit, any punya or papa, we still feel like it does. But in reality, nothing touches the self. Nothing affects the self. The self doesn't need to do anything. But because we are deluded, we feel like we have to do something. And so this whole notion of I must do this, I must experience this, I must cause this to happen, I must make this person experience this beautiful thing. This whole thing happens because of our ignorance. So now, what is that ignorance? How is that destroyed? And how does one realize the self? This is where we will start today from verse number 16. Jnanena tu tadajnanam.
Jnanena tu tadajnanam.
Yesham nashitamatmanaha.
Yesham nashitamatmanaha.
Tesham adityavajnanam.
Tesham adityavajnanam.
Prakashayati tatparam.
Prakashayati tatparam.
Jnanena tu tadajnanam. Yesham nashitamatmanaha. Tesham adityavajnanam prakashayati tatparam. So it says here, tad ajnanam, that ignorance. Ajnana means ignorance. That ignorance is of what? Atmanaha. That ignorance of the self, jnanena, is destroyed by knowledge. So the ignorance of the self is destroyed by knowledge. And yesha, so for those to whom ignorance is destroyed by knowledge, tesham, to those people, aditya vajnanam prakashayati tatparam. That knowledge, jnanam, prakashayati, it reveals tatparam, it reveals the truth, adityavat, like the sun. To those whose ignorance is destroyed by knowledge of the self, like the sun, to them knowledge reveals the supreme. So what does this mean? Now here, Puja Gurudev writes something so beautifully as the intro. He says, the unveiling of truth is a process of the removal of ignorance and not a creation of knowledge. Therefore, it is only an act of rediscovery and not a creative achievement. This is amply brought out by Vyasa's words. What is this ignorance? What is this knowledge? How does everything take place? And how is this example related to the sun? Ignorance is, it expresses as the notion that I don't know who I am, and I think that this world is real. So it expresses as these two notions. I don't know who I really am, and I don't know what the world around me is, so I think it's real. I don't know who I am, so I think that I am the body, mind, intellect. I am this jiva, this individual. When we say jnanam or knowledge, what we mean is that very thought called brahmakara vritti. That thought that I really am Brahman. I'm not this jiva, and this world that appears as though it's outside of me actually appears in me, that pure consciousness. And this world is actually not apart from me. This world rests in me. This firm thought is called jnana or jnanam. How does one get this firm thought? Through shravanam, mananam, and nididhyasanam. How do we know that I have a firm thought? What if I just had a casual thought? Oh, that I am Brahman. I went to a class. I understood that I'm not this body, mind, intellect, that I'm Brahman. Is that knowledge? Can we say that's knowledge? That's not technically what we call aparoksha anubhuti, or that direct knowledge or realization. A casual thought is not realization. A firm thought is required, and a firm thought means a thought that is without doubts. So, without doubts whatsoever. If I have a certain doubt about who I am, the scriptures say that I am Brahman, but I'm still not exactly clear, I'm still unsure, then that thought is not firm. So if we have a doubt, then we have to do more mananam, more analysis, so that more clarity can be gained. The next thing is, if the thought is very light, it is not firm. Means if it's a distracted thought, if it's going in many places, then it is not firm. This thought has to be very, very deeply rooted. Deeply rooted, meaning it's part and parcel of me. And this only happens through contemplation or nididhyasana. So if the thought that I am Brahman and this world is an appearance in me, if this thought is a casual one that has doubts and that is not, that hasn't gone deep in me yet, if it's just very blurry, then that casual thought is very good, because we all start with these casual thoughts, but it is not realization. It is just a casual thought, or what we call sometimes a glimpse, or some people say it's a breakthrough, but that's all it is. So what is required is to make that thought a firm abidance, right? A casual thought has to become firm abidance. A firm abidance means this knowledge that has become part and parcel of me, because it is doubt free, number one, and two, I have been able to really focus on it. There has been a great amount of ekagrata, single pointedness, in which I've been able to really contemplate on it, think about it, be just immersed in it. And therefore, it is a firm abidance. That firm abidance is called jnanam. And that jnanam alone removes ajnanam. So this jnanam removes ajnana. And the example here is given like the sun. So what is the sun symbolize, right? So in this particular example, how Gurudev has written, think about the sun as pure consciousness, okay? So there's a sun in the sky. The sun is pure consciousness. And then there is a cloud that is as though covering the sun. So there's a cloud. Sometimes you'll see in the sky in the afternoon, you'll see half sun. You won't see the full sun, because there's a cloud that's as though covering the sun. I'm saying as though covering the sun because in reality, the cloud cannot cover the sun, right? And that cloud also doesn't touch the sun, doesn't at all touch the sun. And in fact, we know that there's a cloud there because of the sun, right? It is the sun that illumines the cloud, and therefore we know the cloud is there, right? And the cloud is also made from the sun only, right? Because of the whole water cycle, right? That evaporation and condensation and precipitation, and that's how the clouds are formed. And so this cloud in reality has nothing to do with the sun, is there because of the sun, but it obstructs us from realizing the sun. This cloud is ignorance, what we call ignorance, ajnana. So ignorance cannot cover consciousness, and ignorance does not touch consciousness, and ignorance is also illumined by consciousness. And ignorance also appears because of consciousness alone. Consciousness is the substratum for everything. So that is the cloud, is that ignorance. The sun is pure consciousness. So what has to happen now? Knowledge or jnana. And all knowledge is removing that cloud. So knowledge is just removing that ignorance. That is the role of knowledge. It's just to remove the ignorance. But knowledge now, upon removing the cloud, nobody has to illumine the sun, right? The sun is self-luminous, it's self-shining. Upon removing the cloud, nobody has to illumine the sun. Upon removing knowledge, removing ignorance, then what happens is one doesn't need to illumine consciousness. Consciousness is there because consciousness illumines both ignorance and illumines knowledge also. Right? So if we have that notion that, okay, knowledge removes ignorance, and then what happens is I have to somehow meditate upon Atman and see Atman and experience Atman, this is a very incorrect notion. Because all experiences are possible because of Atman. So the role of knowledge is merely to remove ignorance. Just like in the example of the sun and cloud, the role is simply to remove the cloud. The sun is ever shining. It's ever shining. We do not have to produce consciousness. We don't have to create consciousness. Consciousness is there. It illumines knowledge and ignorance. Now, to give you one more example, just to drive this home, because this is an important concept. Some people still feel that they have to produce some Atman, they have to experience some Atman, and only when we get an experience, then that realization takes place. No, I've explained very clearly that realization is firm abidance, which means that knowledge is free from doubts and it has gone very deep. It has penetrated into our entire being. Now let's say this mala that is on my neck. It's on my neck, but because of some slumber, because I'm so tired one day, I forget that it's on my neck. I forget that it's on my neck. And I start looking all over the house for it and saying, I don't know where I put my mala, what happened to my mala. And I start to retrace my steps. Where could I have put my mala? I start to look at all of the places where I could have put it. My desk drawer or my altar or my bag. Start to look at all of these places. And I also start to ask the people around the house, did you take my mala? I think you took it. I start to blame people. Did you take my mala? You must have only taken it because you always do things like that. Oh, I go and I blame people. I think, I don't know why they're so messy and I think it's them. I start to conceive all of these things in my head. And then what happens? My mother comes. She says, hey, wake up. Don't you see? Oh, see what? That mala is in your neck. You're going house, all around the house, looking for your mala, driving everybody up the wall. The mala is in your neck. You're such a fool. So this finding the mala, once I find the mala, what happens? I feel so happy. But the thing is, I never lost the mala. I never actually lost the mala. And the mala was always there. It was always there. I did not lose it. And I did not have to produce it also. I didn't have to create it. It was just there in the neck. So ignorance is that only. It is forgetting what we already are. And because we forget who we already are, unnecessarily we go through this whole entire world doing this and doing that and going here and going there, trying to feel some drop of happiness unnecessarily. And then one beautiful guru, like our mother, our father, tells us, hey, why are you going all around? It's already in you. And then we realize, okay, I don't need to go on any endless pursuit in joy. So that is how realization takes place. Nothing has to be produced. And that's the beauty of the example of the sun. It is ever there. And there's so many ways of looking at Surya Devata. As you know, we do Gayatri Japa because it is Sakshat Brahman. It is that alambana or that support which makes us realize who we are, because its nature is just like Brahman. It's just like Brahman. It illumines everything. And in its presence, everything happens. And it is all pervading. It is impartial. It doesn't give somebody more light than the other. It's just there. It's just there. It is immovable. Everything moves around it. So in this way, our rishis have given us these tools of this support system of contemplating on the sun, Surya, contemplating on space, Akasha, contemplating on Vayu, contemplating on Jala. Vayu, wind, Jala, water. They've given us these contemplations to make our mind really, really, really subtle so that it can be transcended. So this is what this verse means. So this prakashayati word, this word prakashayati means reveals. Jnanam, knowledge, reveals tat param, who we are. Knowledge reveals who we are. Knowledge does not produce something new. It just reveals who we are by removing ignorance that actually is not there in the very self. So this whole ignorance knowledge takes place in the mind alone. Okay. Now, so for those whose ignorance has been destroyed and knowledge reveals the supreme truth, that what is their life like? Can you give us a picture of how they live? What is their life like? So let us see now, verse 17. Tad buddhayastadaatmanaha.
Tadbuddhayastadaatmanaha.
Tannishtastatparayanaha.
Tannishtastatparayanaha.
Gacchantya punaravrittim.
Gacchantya punaravrittim.
Jnana-nirdhuta-kalmashaha.
Jnana-nirdhuta-kalmashaha.
Tadbuddhayastadaatmanaha. Tannishtastatparayanaha. Gacchantya punaravrittim. Jnana-nirdhuta-kalmashaha. So this verse is very beautiful. Tat buddhaya. Buddhaya, that intellect, is absorbed in that. So this is describing the people, that person who has realized that buddhaya, the intellect is absorbed in that. Tadatmanaha, their self just being that. Tannishtha, they're established in that. Tatparayanaha, with that alone being their supreme goal. Gachanti, they go where? Apunaha avrittim, means they go where there is no returning. Apunaha means not again. Avrittim, returning. Why? Because they are jnana nirdhuta kalmashaha. They are the ones whose sins, kalmasha, have been dispelled by knowledge. Sins have been dispelled by knowledge. Intellect absorbed in that, their self being that, established in that, with that for their supreme goal, they go whence there is no return. Their sins are dispelled by knowledge. So, what does it mean? Who is this being, the one who has realized the truth? Tad buddhayaha. Their intellect is just absorbed in that. It's just absorbed in that. It's as though they're bathing in that knowledge. Like sometimes we say somebody's very money-minded. Somebody very money-minded because they're thinking about money all the time. So people have different mindsets. Whatever they think about all the time, their mind becomes that form. So here, the one whose absorbed in that all the time, whose mind is in that all the time. Tad buddhaya, tadatmanaha. And they know their nature, means there's no doubt about it. They never ever think that they're the body. They never have that notion that I'm the body or I'm the mind, I'm the intellect. They don't have that notion at all. As far as they're concerned, tadatma. Who am I? I am the Atman alone. That is their sole true nature. Everything else is just an appearance, rooted in that. Tannishtha. Tannishtha means they are so established in that that's always their go-to. What do I mean by go-to? See, we have different kinds of nishtha in life. Whenever there are obstacles or challenges in our way, we have a different nishtha or abode or refuge. So if something disturbing happens, some of us, we just become quiet. We just try to become quiet and we just sit there quietly and calm ourselves down. Some of us, we do that. Some of us, what happens is we explode. If something happens, so nishtha is to explode, to say this, to say that, to blame everybody. That's a nishtha. To some people, it is Ram, 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 right? I think one of our teachers told us that whenever her, Bhavir teachers, wherever her mind gets disturbed, she takes her japa mala and she says Ram, 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 Ram. And so when in her house, whenever she takes that, everybody stays away from her. And they know not to talk to her because her nishtha is Ram, 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 Ram. So some people's nishtha, when challenges happen, they do japa. Some people, they just shut everybody off and they remain silent. There was this one person in our Vedanta course, whenever something happened to her, she would just lock her door and not come out. So we get so concerned, like, are you okay? Are you eating? Are you alive? Are you this? Are you that? But that was her nishtha. She just wanted to be alone, lock her door. Okay, that's your nishtha. Some people, their nishtha is to go to the temple. You know, something happens, some terrible thing happened, I will go to the temple. What is the nishtha or the refuge for this person who has realized? They will always start from the standpoint that, okay, this happens, but remember, it's just an appearance. It's just an appearance. This is just a movie. This is just a dream. Relax. Don't think too much about it. Or this happened to me. But I'm not the jiva. I am not this body. I am not this mind. I am that Brahman. So, okay. You know? So their nishtha is they'll always go to the highest level first. They'll always go to this level. This happened. It's okay. I am that. It's okay. From the standpoint of Brahman, it's okay. The world is just appearing. It's okay. And then, starting from there, then they do whatever is required. So, but they start from there. So if a jnani gets sick, disease happens. It's okay. It happens to the body, but nothing happened to me. I'm Brahman. But okay, if I have to take a medicine, I'll take it, right? So they're thinking, if I have to take a medicine, I'll take it. If I have to rest a little bit, I'll rest. It's okay, right? So tannishtha has to be that. If that's not our nishtha or that's not our refuge, that means knowledge is still not very deep because we're still going to other places to try and fix things. We're still seeking out other sources. So tannishtha, the one whose sole refuge is knowledge. Knowledge alone is the fix to all such challenges that take place. Then tatparayanaha. Now, they for whom not their goal is Brahman, because it says goal here, but for a goal we have to understand their rati. Their rati in the bhashya or the commentary, Adi Shankaracharya ji says, where their mind rebels. It's not their goal necessarily because the self is not a goal, it's already attained. We just have to realize we already are that. So their rati, their place of reveling is just that Brahman. Their mind revels in Brahman. Their source of happiness is just listening about Brahman. Like Sadashiva Brahmendraji, he wrote this song, Sarvam Brahmamal. Sarvam Brahma. So their rati is just reveling in that. Swami Tapovan Maharaj, his rati, his reveling was in taking these wonderful hikes in the Himalayas. And every time he was there, he felt Brahman. He felt that is the expression alone. That was his rati. Some of their rati is reveling is in books when they read something or they hear something about Brahman. Their rati is there. They feel like, wow, blessed. Some of them sing about it, speak about it, but their reveling is that. For the Ajnani, their reveling is where? In sense objects. Oh, I'm going to get masala dosa today. My mind is reveling in that. Oh, I'm going to get to go on a vacation soon. It's Easter. We have holiday. My mind is reveling in that. Or the weekend is coming up. I can sleep extra. I am just waiting for that. So for Ajnani, I have this issue with my property, and when will it get solved, and when will it get sold, and all of these things. The mind is reveling. But this jnani, their mind revels in Brahman alone. And what an irony. Because they don't revel in the world comes to serve them. They don't revel in what will they eat, where will they sleep, how will this problem be solved, how will this happen. They do not at all revel in that. But yet, everything just becomes okay. Everything just becomes fixed for them. No. What a wonder. Just because even Ishvara, who meditates on this, Brahmajnani. Once Sri Krishna was meditating. They're asking, oh, Sri Krishna, everybody meditates on you. Now, who do you meditate on? Sri Krishna said, I meditate on all these Mahatmas, all these Jnanis, all these wonderful people. I meditate on them. You see, even Ishvara loves this Jnani. That's why it said, chapter 7, Jnani is that Jnani is one with me. There are 4 types of bhaktas, Artha, Artharthi, Jignasu. But that Jnani, that Jnani is Artha, the one who calls Bhagavan in time of distress. Artharthi, the one who seeks Bhagavan for their own pleasure or fulfillment. Jignasu, the one who's curious to know about Bhagavan. But Jnani, the one who realizes Bhagavan as their very self. So this is that realized being. How beautiful is their life. So what happens to them? Gachanti apuna avritim means when their body sheds, there is no more returning back for them. This is it. This is the final embodiment for them. And jnana nirdhuta kalmasha. All their sins meaning what? All that doership, experiencership, ownership, all this ship, relationship, all of that have been dispelled by knowledge. They don't take any doership, ownership, experiencership, relationship, anything like that. They do not take upon themselves because they know that they are that Atman. This is their life. Now a question comes, well, we also want to be like that. Right? We also want to be like that because that sounds like such a divine life. Is it possible for us also? So Bhagavan Krishna says, oh yes, but now you take the shloka backward. When you take the shloka forward, that is the jnani's reveling. When you take the shloka backward, that is the jiva's trying. Huh? So now we take the shloka backward. This is for the jiva who's trying to realize themselves, for all of us. So if we take it backward, the first one is tat parayanaha. Means our goal should be only that. Step one, our goal should be only that. Oh, what else is there in life? Please tell me, what else is there in life that is oh so fulfilling, that will give you ultimate peace and eternal bliss? There is nothing else. Absolutely nothing else. So tat parayana means get that vairagya and make that the only goal. Instill that vairagya. Realize the defects of this samsara and learn how to let it go and make God go. Make that awareness your goal. Tat eva parayana. Make that. Make our life centered around that. Then Tanishta. Once we've established that that is the center of our lives, then abide in that through Shravanam, Mananam, Nididhyasanam. Follow that procedure and learn to abide in that. Make that knowledge very, very firm. Very firm. And once we have done that, tadatmanaha, then realize the self. Realize that Atman has Brahman. Someone may have a question. Shravanam, Mananam, Nididhyasanam. Shravana means listening to the scriptures. Mananam, reflecting. Nididhyasanam, contemplating. So step one, make the self the goal. Step two, establish oneself in the self through Shravanam, Mananam, Nididhyasanam. Step three, realization takes place that I am Brahman, I Atman am Brahman, I am Brahman. And step four, Tad Buddhaya means, and see that self in all beings. So this is our sadhana. So this shloka is very, very beautiful because forwards, it's the jnani's reveling. Backwards, it's the jiva's trying. Any which way you can enjoy it. But the most important thing is enjoy the process. Enjoy. This pursuit of spirituality is not some, oh my goodness, I have to be spiritual. I have to do this sadhana. I have to do that. I have to do this. There's going to be so many hang-ups, so many ups and downs, so many unexpected situations. Laugh it. You are that supreme reality. What can really happen to you? Okay, now the question says, now you had told me that I must come to this realization and see the one self in all beings. But can you give me an example? How does one really see oneness in all beings? Okay, Sri Krishna says, let me tell you. Verse number 18. Vidya Vinaya Sampanne
Vidya Vinaya Sampanne
Brahmane Gavihastini
Brahmane Gavihastini
Shunichaiva Shwapake Cha
Shunichaiva Shwapake Cha
Pandita Samadarshinaha.
Pandita Samadarshinaha.
Vidya Vinaya Sampanne Brahmane Gavihastini Shuni Chaiva Shwapake Cha Pandita Samadarshinaha. This is another beautiful verse. This chapter 5 is so beautiful. But I think we say that for all chapters. Okay, what happens here? First, we start from Panditaha Samadarshinaha. The sages, Panditaha Samadarshinaha. They look upon everything as one. Samadarshina. Everything is one, everything is same. Who do they look upon? Vidya Vinaya Sampanne. Upon the one who is Sampanna. Sampanna, endowed with Vinaya, humility and learning. Humility and learning. And then Brahmane, on a Brahmana. Gavi, on a cow. Hastini, on an elephant. Shuni, on a dog. And Shwapake, on an outcast. The sages are equal seeing. So sages look with an equal eye upon a Brahmana endowed with learning and humility, on a cow, on an elephant, even on a dog and an outcast. So very nice verse. Now first, before we go into this verse, I wanted to remind everyone of where this word Pandita comes in the Bhagavad Gita, where we have seen it so far. Thus far, we saw it in chapter 2. Na anushochanti panditaha. Right? Na anushochanti panditaha means the Pandita is the one who never grieves. So this happens in chapter 2, where Arjuna is very, very broken down, and Bhagwan Sri Krishna says, the wise do not grieve for those who have gone or for those who are going. The wise do not grieve for anybody. So what is one, I would say, lakshana, indicator of one who is wise? The one who does not grieve. Gurudev has this beautiful quote, life is a tragedy for the one who feels, but a comedy for one who thinks. For one who really realizes the truth, it's comedy. The second definition of Pandita we saw in chapter 4, I believe. And the verse is, Yasya sarve samarambhaha kama sankalpa varjitaha Jnanagnidagdha karmanam mahuv panditam buddhaha. The wise call this person a pandita, the one whose works, all their works, are without any sankalpa, notion that they will gain happiness from there, or any selfish desire or pursuit. So all their actions are without that notion that I'm going to do this so I can be happy, or I'm going to do this so I can gain happiness. They have no such thought in their mind. They just perform actions as it's required. But at the same time, jnanagni dagda karmana. All of their actions are burned in the fire of knowledge. Because again, they have realized they're not the doer, they're not the enjoyer. So any such actions performed by them without desire, without sankalpa, all of those actions and the results of those actions, they are burnt by the fire of knowledge. This is called Pandita. So now this is the third definition of Pandita. So it's also nice to see how Sri Krishna evolves these definitions in the Bhagavad Gita. So first, let's see the variety of creatures that he is giving. So on the top half of the spectrum, I'm just saying top range, just so we have an idea. Top half of the spectrum, we have the person who's endowed with learning and humility and a Brahmana. Brahmana means here the one who has predominantly sattvic qualities. This is called Brahmana. Hmm? So the one who is endowed with learning and humility, the one who's a Brahmana, the top of the spectrum, to the bottom of the spectrum, who is a Shwapacha, a Shwapake. Shwapake means somebody who cooks dogs, who eats dogs, Shwapacha, right? This is in the spectrum tamasic, very, very tamasic, because they'll just take anything and eat it. they're not concerned about it. They'll take anything and eat it. And naturally, their mind also becomes that way because we are, in essence, what we eat. If we eat a lot of certain types of food, or that the subtle element of that becomes the mind. So the Brahmana, Vidya, Vinay Sampana is on the top, and then the Shwapacha, or sometimes you call it Chandala, Tamasic. Then in the middle, we have these three animals. We have three animals. We have the cow, the elephant, and the dog, right? So the cow is supposed to be a very sattvic animal. And then the dog, a rajasic animal. And then the elephant, some say it's a tamasic animal. So this is the full range of very, very sattvic, the Brahmana, very, very tamasic, the Chandala or Shwapacha, one who cooks dogs, right? Or here the word is outcast. And then Sattvic, Rajasic, Tamasic, the cow, the dog, and the elephant. In all of these, the Pandita sees oneness. What does it mean to see oneness? It means that their Jnana Chakshu has opened. Jnana Chakshu means eye of wisdom. You know, Bhagavan Shiva has three eyes. Three eyes. The third eye is the Jnana Chakshu. So we have two eyes. One is this physical eye, and one is this spiritual eye. Okay, I'm pointing here because that's where it is for Bhagavan Shiva. So physical eye, some people have, some people don't have, right? The physical eye, with the physical eye we see, but what do we see with the physical eye? We see with the physical eye all kinds of differences, all kinds of differences. We see all kinds of names and forms, all sorts of shapes, all sorts of sizes, all colors, all kinds of variety, all kinds of intensities we see with our physical eye. So the physical eye, what it sees is differences, all kinds of different appearances. And numerous also, it sees many. The physical eye sees many. Just I'm sitting here, I see the table, the computer, the book, the bottle, I see so many things. But the spiritual eye, that sees, that doesn't require a physical eye. The spiritual eye is the one that recognizes the oneness amidst all names and forms. So amidst all names and forms, it goes to the underlying substratum. So I'll just read what Gurudev said here in the commentary. The wise cannot but see and recognize the same presence of divinity everywhere. An ocean has no difference of feeling for different waves. So can you imagine, let's say the water of the ocean said, oh, this wave is better than the other wave. It's all water. From the standpoint of water, it's really all water. It's all water. Gold cannot recognize itself as different in different pieces of ornaments. From the standpoint of gold, it's all gold. We might see a bracelet, we might see a ring, we might see a necklace. From the standpoint of gold, it's all gold. So water is the eye, spiritual eye or eye of wisdom. Waves is the physical eye. Gold, seeing gold is seeing with the eye of wisdom. Seeing bracelet and necklace and all of that is the physical eye, is seeing with the physical eye. So now you might have a question, but we do see with the physical eye. So what do you mean about seeing with the spiritual eye? What we mean is this Pandita, although sees with the physical eye, the spiritual eye transcends the physical eye. Huh? The spiritual eye transcends the physical eye. So, for example, we see gold and we see a gold bracelet, a gold necklace, a gold ring, gold chain. Ajnani, when we see that, what does our attention go to? Oh my goodness, this looks so brilliant. How many carats is this? And will I be able to afford to buy this? And when can I buy this? And this would look really nice with this outfit. And I'm already planning which outfit I'm going to wear this gold ring or whatever with, and how I'm going to flash it to everybody so they can see it. Already calculating in my mind. But when the jnani sees bracelet, necklace, ring, chain, their attention just goes to gold. So our attention goes to bracelet, ring, necklace, etc. But their attention goes to gold. So that's what it means by their spiritual eye transcends their physical eye. Their spiritual eye transcends their physical eye. And because the spiritual eye transcends the physical eye, then they are able to see oneness amidst many. But yet, in seeing that oneness, they are able to relate to everybody as required. Now, for each one, there is a story associated with it. So these scenarios we will take up next class. Okay, we will see how they have actually transcended to see oneness in every being, but at the same time, when they relate to a brahmana, a cow, elephant, etc., how they relate with so much love. This can only be because they are realized beings. Yeah? So what we have seen today, just to sum up in a nutshell, that this ignorance is removed by knowledge. So the role of knowledge is just to remove ignorance. What is knowledge? It is not a casual thought, but it's a firm abidance in the self. Firm abidance means this thought, this knowledge that is without doubts and that has gone deep, deep and penetrated our entire being. And when we do that, this knowledge, it reveals who we really are. It means it removes ignorance and consciousness is revealed. Consciousness ever shines as it is. We don't have to produce that consciousness. And the ones who have realized this truth, they're the ones who just revel in this self. They revel in the self in and through their lives. And if we also want to realize this truth, then step one is to make that as the goal. Step two is to do our Shravanam, Mananam, Nidhyasana. Step three, to realize that truth. And step four, to realize that truth not only in me, but amidst all of us. And thus one becomes a Pandita. Okay, so for today we will stop here. Let's say the closing prayer, and then I have an announcement to make. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om. This prayer that we say in the end, it essentially means I am complete. So I hope that when we do say it, we also become one with that prayer.